Greetings, I'm Dr. R. Aviace. I've been tasked with recording a reading of most files in relation to the recent lockdown of the Huddles Black Site within the Letvan zone. These, however, will almost entirely be files for anything dubbed under the Z classification, with the exception of the currently present Leon, Rosa, Lucy, and River Trenchbleeders and the Letvan zone Fauna. As much as I argue that considering the standard, the Fauna should be given a Z classification. But enough of that. The reading will additionally be complemented by notes written by yours truly. Starting us off, Z283, codename Angler, was originally found at the bottom of the Letvan zone during the initial expedition and excavation for the Huddles Black Site. The creature is comprised of a cloud of black and dark blue smoke. Within the smoke, a face can be observed in the shape of a stereotypical deep-sea anglerfish. No matter which angler, got a bit of a pun there. Use that small interruption. No matter which angle Z283 is observed at, the face will always face the observer, even if observed from multiple angles at once. Each person reported that they were seeing the face in the smoke. This also happens for any type of camera equipment. Why this happens is, as of yet, unknown and will likely never be explained. Z283 is incredibly fast, but is also partially blind. Because of this, Z283 is constantly emitting an incredibly loud scream that uses to echolocate through its surroundings. During the initial capture, operatives discovered that even if initial eye contact is made from afar, getting out of its sight before it reaches your location will have it simply pass you by. Same thing can't be said if line of sight isn't broken before it reaches you, in which case its echo will bounce off you and it will move in for the kill. It is currently unknown how exactly Z283 kills its victims, as all it has to do to simply move through a living being, and they instantly drop dead. Post-death anatomy of victims shows the cause of death is neurotrauma upon contact. It is currently theorized that when Z283 kills something, it observes all the neuron signals from the body, leaving nothing but a corpse with no bodily harm behind. For some reason that can't be fully explained yet, Z283 lets out a weak, disruptive electrical signals, like an EMP pulse of sorts. The range of the pulse doesn't have an exact measure yet, but the radius is rather wide. That pulse disrupts all unsecured electronic devices connected to the Black Site's power grid, causing them to short-circuit or malfunction. Z283 also has a shorter, more powerful disruption signal that is strong enough to outright break or destroy any said unsecured electronics. The range of this pulse is much shorter, measuring at about 5 studs. In the event that Z283 breaches containment, personnel should note that the pulse it emits disrupts the Black Site's lights, causing them to flicker if near. You can also tell that it's on the way by its ear-piercing scream. If this happens, personnel should look for a place to hide before its arrival. Once Z283 has passed through the area, it should be noted that it'll leave the room shrouded in darkness. It'll likely take a while for the emergency lights system to kick in. The personnel should look for light sources such as flashlights and/or lanterns to help them through the dark rooms that Z-283 leaves behind in its warpath. Addendum. After the recent Black Site lockdown, 4 of what can only be described as Z-283 variants were spotted roaming the Black Site on the CCTV. There's a gray, pink, brown, and green variant, referred to as Z-283 Blitz, Z-283 Pinky, Z-283 Frogger, and Z-283 Chainsmoker. The origin of these so-called variants are currently unknown. Further study is needed once the Black Site lockdown has been dealt with. For now, operatives are advised to deal with them as they would with the original Z-283. Aviace note. Stand near a locker if you think you're being hunted. This can be determined by screeching or lights flickering. Additionally, use the small gap in the locker to determine the threat. And aside from the regular angler, here's my notes on each of them. Aviace. Formatting. I swear to God, Urban Shade never gives us any good formatting on these sites. Blitz. Treat it similar to the normal angler. He doesn't throw many other tricks at you. Pinky. Keep an ear out. It doesn't flicker the lights, but it's loud as hell. Frogger. Stay near the locker and re-enter when you hear it coming back. This can happen more than once. Chainsmoker. The smoke it releases forces you out of lockers. Luckily, it seems to come into effect after it leaves the room. Just hope you don't get Chainsmoker back to back with Blitz. Moving forward. Z-367, codenamed Pandemonium, was originally discovered submerged near a thermal vent within the Letvan zone during initial excavation of the Huddles Black Site. According to molecular data received from all compositional analysis, Z-367's body is structurally similar to decomposing organic tissue and synthetic polymer. It's chemically alike to plastic and trace elements of various man-made metals. All attempts to classify the cellular anatomy of Z-367's flesh have ended in negative results, as Z-367 shows no observable signs of life. Its body remains in a perpetual state of decomposition by some unknown mechanism, noted through the consistent presence of mold and other erosive agents discovered in biological analysis. The Bioparanormal Division has postulated that it collects fresh mass from external sources through consumption, thus remaining intact. Anonymously, it possesses an indeterminate number of interioles, which appear to function as though alive, though the explanation behind these ocular organs remains unknown, as the Hazard and Ethics Division has deemed further study too dangerous at this time. Z-367 is capable of rudimentary movement by unknown means, observed to float midair at a maximum of approximately 1 meter above solid surface. Top speed is somewhat consistent to that of a mid-sized marine predator. The internal eyes are deceptively powerful, able to spot movement and subtle shifts in light up to inordinately long distances. If spotted, subjects manage to evade the 367. It immediately begins hunting in the surrounding area, Spotted targets, inanimate or organic, are observed to be found in all instances. It is unknown what method Z367 uses for sensory perception, whether it be hearing, scent, or heat, but it seems somewhat capable of primitive reasoning. When living targets are found, Z367 will attempt to trap them inside an orifice that resembles a toothed mouth, in which subjects are suffocated and dissolved by unknown chemical agents secreted within. If subjects place barriers between themselves and Z367, the creature will begin to ram its full body into obstruction. Its estimated weight and velocity capable of destroying most of unsecured structures. This only subsides after an indefinite amount of time if attempts repeatedly fail. Though research finds no correlation between the two anomalies, Z367 shares a similar EMP field generated by Z283. However, the former's electric charge is recorded as being significantly less powerful, causing devices linked to internal power grids to temporarily malfunction when Z367 is near, though permanent electrical damages are never suffered by the site infrastructure. Theories regarding the origin of this function are scant, as no other biological processes indicate that Z367 should be capable of emitting electric fields. The relation between these two subjects has been largely undetermined. However, grade bioparanormal researcher Dr. and his juniors continue to lobby for further research to be conducted. The Hazard and Ethics Division continues to deny all appeals for continued study. In the event C367 breaches containment, the pulse it emits will cause unsecured black site lights to flicker when it is near, reminiscent of Z367 remaining out of Z283. Remaining out of Z367's line of sight is of utmost importance. However, all attempts to evade it once spotted are futile if cover is not available. Z367 is capable of destroying most doors within the black site. Thus, personnel are heavily advised to redirect themselves to the nearest facility bunker or similarly armored room as possible. Locker installations in Black Site Wing are designed to be bulletproof. However, complimentary testing with Z367 has been temporarily postponed. Resort to this if no other option presents itself. In the event that you are spotted, please process yourself in a secure location and wait for the cleanup detail to retrieve your corpse. The Panopticon must hold. Aviace note. Who wrote that Panopticon line? Treat it similar to Z283 specimens. This time, make sure to keep a grip on the door. Always. Notice. This document is written on short notice to give quick rundown of the threat to any operatives heading down to the black site. Z96 and Z779 duo, simply dubbed Good People by operatives, is one of the many hazards you may encounter during the black site visits during operations. 35 minutes after the initial black site lockdown, Z13 broke into the containment chamber containing Z96, the Mask of Sadness, took it with him, encountered Doctor, and forced the mask onto his face, starting the MOSA process, referred to the Mask of Sadness document for further information. After its initial but short rampage, Z96 has assimilated 108 victims, including Dr. Kleiner, Dr. Section Director Phobos, and Overseer Werner. Those are some good people. Kleiner had a weird infestation with crabs, though. Really weird. Anyways, near the end of the rampage, Z96 encountered Guardsman Henry, who shot and hit the blob several times. Z96 quickly fled from the area before Henry could even empty all his gun's magazine. After the encounter, Z96 hunkered down in an empty room and started to properly digest its mass. It has not tried to do another direct confrontation since then. 4 hours into lockdown, Z13 encountered Z779 and successfully connected it up to the Black Site's mainframe. Agents stationed at the surface quickly retaliated by remotely blocking as many features Z779 as possible, but Z779 still successfully managed to get access to the PA system, low-level clearance to the Navi AI system, and access to the Stale Breaker testing grounds system. Since then, Z779 has been using the PA system like a dog whistle to lure Z96 around the Black Site. At first, it tried to lure Z96 into direct confrontation with groups of specialists, but Z96 would always flee the scene, seemingly still traumatized by the encounter of Henry. Rightfully so. Since then, it has started luring it to rooms that have been marked by the Navi AI in order to trick specialists by changing the number on the Navi path that Z96 resides in to be the same number as the next room that the specialists need to go through. There are also reports of Z779 using the PA system to trick people into areas by mimicking voices. In the event and that operatives hear distorted audio of colleagues or friends, it's likely Z779 using the intercom system to trick them into going there. If any operatives encounter doors on the Navi path that display the same number, it usually means Z96 is behind one of them. One way to figure out which door it's behind, well, besides just walking into them, which is kind of stupid, is one way to figure out which door it's behind is to go up next to it and listen for breathing, growling, and other similar notes that Z96 mates. Another thing that shows a fake door is the sign displaying a number. Any fake signs will have periodic sparks, as the low-level clearance means Z779 has to overwrite a lot of protocols, causing the wiring in the sign to overheat. Aviace note: anything I could mention has already been mentioned. No note. Moving forward. Z-317, codename Eyefestation, was a bull shark used in the BUPWM program. The BUPWM program was an experiment to allow an individual to kill someone telepathically through eye contact by beaming highly radioactive waves through the victim's optic nerve, causing their brain to melt inside their head. It's really fucking twisted. The experiment consisted by gouging out the eyeballs of the patient, placing them in a jar of genetically altered rotten coral for 18 hours, injecting now rotten eyeballs with 20 milliliters of CT19 before surgically implanting them back into the patient. The procedure to work properly, the patient must be conscious the entire time, not be put under the effects of anesthesia, painkillers, or any other forms of drugs that alter the patient's brain chemistry. Z-317 is the first successful experiment from this program. Whilst the experiments on Z-317 worked, the side effects were considered unacceptable. The obvious problem was the ludicrous amount of new eyes on the body's exterior, as well as the interior. An X-ray showed that the entirety of its insides was infested with eyes, all moving. Another side effect of all the eyes would become neon green and have its circular pupil replaced with that of an X. Not all side effects are bad, however. An encountered side effect is that Z-317 can telepathically force someone to look at it. If you consider that good. Eye contact or not, however, it's a weak pull that can be fought back by the victim. And it becomes incredibly obvious for the victim to know that they're in its gaze. Still, this side effect is considered to be unacceptable by agents in the field and have been advised to try use the pull only in an emergency when trying to exterminate a target. Whilst the whole eye growth issue has been ironed out, the green cross-eye side effect is not. For now, agents have undergone the BUPWM program procedure are given contact lenses to cover up their horrific defects. Sorry, bastards. Due to how painful these modifications are, only 16 agents so far have gone through the procedure. 5 hours and 34 minutes in lockdown, Z-13 opened Z-317's containment cell, letting it swim into the ocean. Why do we have a direct door into the vast ocean? It's a really big oversight. Ugh. Instead of trying to leave the Letvan zone, or the area in general, Z-317 stayed near the black site, looking through the windows and trying to find people to kill. It is currently unknown why it's doing this, but it's assumed that it's out of malice and or hatred. Z-317 was already scheduled for extermination, and will be hunted down once the lockdown is dealt with. If any operative is to encounter Z-317 outside the window of the room they are currently in, and feel effects of its gaze, they should fight it until they can get out of the room. Z-317 will normally try to attack in areas with a lot of open space for itself, and free of our smart minds. When Z-317 finds a window with victims inside, It'll stay at that window until it kills the victims, or the victim somehow manages to make its way through the room. After which, Z-Free-17 leaves in search of new prey. Z-Free-17 seems to see all humans as threats, and will try to kill anyone it sees, no matter their role. Addendum. And as of yet, side effect has been discovered. Personnel that have returned to the surface have reported that Z-Free-17 had spotted them. A voice in their head was telling them to look directly into Z-Free-17's eyes. Reported voices trying to persuade them include relatives, loved ones, HQ, high commanding officers, and co-workers. No matter what you do not listen. Aviace note. Its pull is weak. Divide it. Also, if you don't have a death wish, don't use a flash beacon on it. Moving on. Notice, there has been there has not been given an official designation for this creature, as they were only captured and transported to the black site 2 days before the lockdown. It has been given the unofficial designation SQ, which I have considered to be enough of an exception to warrant it being amongst them. SQ, codename Squiddles, such a funny name, is an as of yet unknown species. They were discovered on the G-class cargo ship after they had broadcasted a distress signal in the middle of the night in general area of the Trenchbleeder. After the rescue ships failed to respond, and with no storms or hurricanes that could have disrupted the rescue op, urban shape operatives were soon after sent to investigate, in case it was an as of yet unreported containment breach, or a creature from the wet fan zone that had somehow made it to the surface. When the operatives boarded the ships, they found that the power was out. The majority of the crew were dead, and there were only a handful of survivors left. There were also found to be an estimated 600 SQ instances. These can breed like rabbits. They were rounded into containers and taken to the black site for documentation. The rescue ships were sunk, and survivors were executed, and a cover-up story saying that they were lost in a non-existent storm was given to the public. Fucking bad. Way to go out. Oh well. That's, you know what, I'm not gonna call it that. I like Squiddles. Squiddles instances are what can only be described as purely dark humanoid-looking squids. While they have a human head and torso shape, they do not have any arms where arms should be, and the tentacles in place of legs. Squiddles instances have the ability to manifest themselves wherever they want. Honestly, the miracle and magic contain them. As long as there are no light sources of any illuminating the area. If an Squiddle instance is in the dark room and the lights turn on, it will instantly demanifest from said room and remanifest in the closest fully dark area. Squiddles are normally docile, simply floating about off the ground, minding its own business. They only become aggressive when someone uses a light source of any kind and shine it on the instance for a short period of time. If the person holding the light doesn't turn that light source off or does not point the light source away, the instance will attack the wielder. They will also attack if stood near for too long. After a few seconds, they will attack as if they are shining. They will attack as if they are shining a light at them. Normally, this won't kill the individual unless they are already somewhat wounded. After Z13, geez, a lot of Z13, opened their containment cells and turned off the lights in the sector. Really, it's made our jobs harder. I want to get some weird rock. The SQ instances are now all over the black site. In the event that the power in a room is out and lights are off, operatives are highly advised that they ready to either turn off the light source they're holding or look away in case they spot a Squiddle. This is such a funny name. What little amusement I can get. They must also be careful not to keep their attack. They must also be careful not to keep their attack anyone using a keycord or unlock something. Jeez. Talk about jargon. Oh well. Operatives who get a glimpse of an XQ instance without being jumped notice that their head will change appearance. It's speculated that the Squiddle tries to conjure up what they think is scary as a defense mechanism. Aviace note. It's been discovered that using a black light doesn't trigger them. So if you manage to get one, feel free to use it in the dark room. However, if you have any sort of normal light source, such as a flashlight, lantern, or crank flashlight, no, I'm not counting the gummy flashlights, we hand that out as a bring your kid to work day. And it's also been noted that Squiddles will appear in rooms traversed by the angler, so just be cautious of that. Moving on. ZV06, aka Puddles from the Void Mass, are clumps of sentient puddles that spawns from ZV0. Refer to the Vacula Void Mass document for further information. 1 hour and 26 minutes into the lockdown protocol, Z13 disabled the anti-degression evaporation field inside of its cell. Again with Z13, man. And opened the containment doors. Immediately, ZV0 started spawning ZV01 through 05 instances, as well as this new instance, V-V06. Luckily, in this haste to cause more property damage, Z13 forgot to turn off the evaporation floodlights, since the measure outside the door, causing all of the ZEV01 through 05 instances to evaporate once they try to leave. However, the new Z-V06 instances did not evaporate. It's theorized that the new V... Sort of God, having two letters like that is not good, man. Who names these things? Z-V06 instance is evolved in a way to withstand the effects of the AD.E system, and is currently unknown why Z-V01 through 05 have not evolved in the same way. 17 minutes after the ADE system has turned off, Dr. found his way to the control room and turned it back on. An estimated 6,200 to 6,700 instances are now loose in the black site. A ZV06 instance is what can only be described as a black mass with two eyes and two tentacle-like arms it uses to crawl around with. The CCTV showed them just kind of crawling around aimlessly until they found small enclosed areas like lockers, crawling inside and staying there. Z-V06 instances will not attack unless provoked. This normally wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't for the several monsters currently loose. In the event an operative needs to hide, it's highly advised that they double check the locker they're about to hide in. Any locker with Z-V06 instance inside can be identified by 3 factors. First, the locker will have what can only be described as audible breathing. Second, 2 big purple glowing eyes can be seen through the locker air holes. Third, a black liquid gooish substance can be seen dripping at the bottom of the locker onto the floor. In the event that an operative accidentally opens the locker with a Z-V06 instance inside and is pulled in, they can still be rescued. While the window is short, it usually takes a bit before the Z-V06 properly starts to digest its victims. Depending on how hurt the victim is, if a colleague is captured, it's highly advised to get them out of the locker immediately, as to not suffer unnecessary casualties. Aviace note. Anything I could cover has been covered. No note. Moving on. Z-90, codename Wall Dwellers, is a species of armless humanoids with a layer of drywall covering their frontal bodies. Talk about watching paint dry. They were originally discovered in an abandoned office complex in Los Angeles after a group of 4 online influencers who had gone in to vandalize the property were all reported missing. 2 police officers from the local police department were sent to investigate and report finding human holes in the walls, as well as meeting an armless wooden creature. They're just a few degrees away from being turned to a snack. Which was enough to scare them off and have them all call for backup. Urban Safe operatives were soon sent to investigate and discovered Z-9 species. The bodies of online influencers were never found, as they had assumedly all been eaten. A handheld camera was found containing video evidence of the influencers being hunted and killed by several Z90 instances. These recordings were destroyed at the request of Operative, not because they wanted to contain any confidential information, but simply because the personalities in the recordings were super obnoxious and incredibly annoying. Why did they add this? Oh look, for once, a snarky comment that wasn't from my end. I mean, I saw what some of the content was, and I must agree they are annoying. Back on topic. The deaths were blamed on structural decay, where the rotten wood floor had collapsed under the group, causing the fall of 3 stories to their deaths. A total of 29 Z90 instances were captured and brought to the black site for containment and study. The structure and anatomy of Z90 species is incredibly unique. They have no heart, blood, lungs, or other vital organs. A typical animal would need to be alive. They do need to breathe or sleep. They only have a stomach. Wait, no, I read that wrong. That's a tiredness coming over me. Swear to God, urban states been making me dry. Oh well. They do not need to breathe or sleep. They only have a stomach and multiple acid storage and production pockets. On the front, they have what at first seems like pieces of wall was actually skin. They can change the color and material of their wall surface to be the same as the surrounding wall it's currently hiding in, allowing the Z90 instances to efficiently camouflage with their surroundings. The entirety of its back, rear, legs, and even the head are observed with countless small holes. Each of these holes are used to spew acid, which it uses to hide in. Then starts backing into said wall, whilst the acid melts the hole for it. This process usually takes 4 minutes minimum, so 9 minutes maximum. The Z90 instances are currently undergoing intensive study to figure out how exactly their wall-changing camo works. So it may be applied to our uniforms and other pieces of equipment that may need camouflage. Once the method has been discovered, all Z90 instances will be terminated. Once a Z90 instance has placed itself inside a wall, it will hibernate until prey walks by. Once prey has left the area, it will move out its hiding spot and start stalking after said prey. Once it catches up, it'll kick the back knee of its victim in, causing them to fall. It'll then quickly turn the victim over and rip out their neck before they can even react. If alone, it'll start eating the body right away, even cloth and bone. If in a group, it will attempt to move from person to person, killing them all before it begins eating the bodies. Should any amount of Z90 instance breach containment, personnel must remain on high alert. If they hear subtle footsteps behind them, they should quickly turn around. While dangerous, Z90 cannot attack without the element of surprise, and will attempt to flee when spotted. Notably, certain Z90 instances sometimes feign a retreat, luring the victim into a false sense of security. Then once out of sight, they'll run back, hoping to catch the victims off guard. Aviace note: turn around from time to time, especially if you hear one footstep too many. Although, if you know that an angular variant is on its way, feel free to go to the body. one of the operatives on the radio said that apparently after eating it, their grievous wounds actually healed. So, might want to keep that in mind. However, such a combo is rare and you'll probably won't experience it. Moving on. The Vultus luminaria species is dubbed Searchlights by personnel, is a species of whale-sized organisms found exclusively in the wetland zone. They are speculated to have been around for 80 million years, as proven by skeletal remains found throughout the trench. An autopsy has shown that it's related to echinoderms, which just goes to show how much it evolved over the years. Nature is so beautiful. Well, not in this instance, since I want to throw a car battery in the ocean, but my point still stands. Not sure what came over me there. Classification has been given. The nosy classification has been given due to them simply being considered wild animals. Again, I'll argue that they should have a Z classification as well. I mean, you classed the anglers. They were just found down there. Oh well. An average searchlight, I will not call it by its actual name, has 4 eyes located on its stomach. In between said eyes, a large gaping mouth with many rows of teeth. On the top of the body, it's a heavily armored shell. On the back is what can only be described as a spike cluster. On its rear, there's 2 fins and a long tail that it uses for movement and stabilization. An estimated 350 searchlights are currently alive in the wetland zone. Jeez, well, it's one way to kill the spotlight attention seeker. The searchlight species gets its name after its hunting technique. I should probably call it by its actual name then. The Vultus luminaria, I just butchered that one. Species gets its name after its hunting technique. The 4 aforementioned eyes have bright beams of light illuminating from them, and they use those beams to scour the sea floor, either to swim away or swim underneath the belly to try and find a weak spot, which would result in the fish immediately being harpooned, after which it is promptly eaten. In the event that you're out diving near the sea floor and you encounter a wild searchlight, simply swimming above it or swimming out of its way should be enough. In the event that neither of those options are possible, the best thing to do is hide underneath or inside something as it swims by. Trying to maneuver underneath the lights as it passes overhead is not recommended, but it is possible and advised to at least attempt it if there are no other options. There have been a few concerns considering the lunar grav testing track and how far the searchlight almost swam inside once after the bulkhead accidentally left open. After the incident, the exterior bulkheads must now be checked to make sure that they close properly. Aviace note: keep out the spotlight. Should be simple enough. Ah yes, now the one that I argued should have is the classification. The lead fan zone fauna, simply dubbed parasites by personnel, are the main inhabitants of the trench. Parasites are small enough to be invisible to the naked eye, allowing them to blend in seamlessly with the darkness of the abyss. The parasites have adapted to the darkness, meaning they aren't used to light. Any amount of light, no matter how weak, is enough to burn them alive, so to speak. Because of this, you'll see e-paths traveled by divers being lit by green beacons. Parasites are only a problem in areas that are not lit up by any type of light source. In the event that you are out diving without a tongue vest, it is crucial that you stick as close to any pre-placed lights and beacons as possible. Swimming outside the light of any beacons will have you quickly swarmed and eaten. In the event that you, for some reason, swim outside beacon range, you have to swim back to the light as fast as possible, and then physically shake any parasites that you have attached themselves to you. Trying to shake themselves off you outside of a light won't work, as they won't be weakened enough from the lights to let go as easily. Aviace note. Anything I could cover has been covered. No note. Besides some needing a Z classification. Okay. Ah yes, this troublemaker. Z779, codenamed the Painter, is a seemingly sentient AI program residing in an 80s computer with a modern drawing tablet instead of a keyboard. Being used to mine the Roblox cryptocurrency rigged up to the Roblox server frame. Z779 is used to mine Roblox 6 days of the week to be sold on crypto markets. Originally discovered in 2023 after a four-man group of Urban Shape employees who are AI prompters as a pastime were getting jealous that a particular online user's AI prompts looking exponentially better than theirs. And then they became bitter. With said user being able to provide them with the AI program used for this, is prompts. That employees decide to track down the user in person after tracking down the user's address, real name. They broke into his house, kidnapped him, and took his computer equipment with them. It was then discovered that had somehow written a sentient AI program, uploading the art that it had made instead of stealing existing pictures into artwork off the internet. The AI would digitally draw paintings on its own, only needing to be taken any places of interest. Taking a glance through its inbuilt webcam, and would then, over the course of several days, draw a painting in its painting program, as any digital artist would. As interrogated and tortured for several hours after repeatedly being asked how he had programmed such an AI algorithm, the individual pleased repeatedly that he had no idea how he did it, which wasn't considered sufficient answer. 3 hours and 54 minutes into the session, the individual passed away after guardsman Brian Christopher tripped and accidentally hit the individual over the head with his rifle. Instead of bringing the computer housing the 779 to Urban Shade, they brought it home with them. Z779, being unwilling to provide the employees with any artwork after they killed its creator, kind of deserved, was disassembled to see how it could create art as it did. Despite being comprised of almost entirely incredibly old computer parts, Z779 possessed enough power to rival and even outperform that of modern supercomputers. After still being unwilling to provide the group with art, Z779 was then brought to the Doll Black site, being passed off as a new Roblox mining rig as a form of punishment from the displeased group. A displeased... I lost where I was. From the displeased group. A suspicious number of its 80s shell... Suspicious of its 80s shell, yet incredibly powerful processor, Z779 was interrogated by Black Site employees to learn what had happened. After interrogation had finished, the group was promptly demoted to LR-P for unapproved murder of civilian without reason for cover-up, as well as using Urban Shade assets and resources for such petty cause of death. With Z779 in Urban Shade's possession, finally, they went through with the Roblox mining rig plan anyways, because they have no other use for the AI. Matching the power output of 6 combined Roblox crypto farms, Z779 has proven to be vital in producing a large amount of Roblox, which can be sold to the crypto market for large amounts of profit. How do you think we keep affording automatic doors? Z779, becoming incredibly depressed with being a crypto miner, would regularly try to overclock its systems in an attempt to fry them to destroy itself. To prevent this, Z779 was promised that if a 6-day Roblox crypto quota is reached, it would be taken back to the surface for a day so it could draw interpretations of landscapes as before. Due to its very strict drawing timetable, Z779 will usually rush its artwork compared to before, which has resulted in art of considerably bad quality, considering to that of its average self-absorbed AI prompter so-called game-changing masterpieces. Any art produced and printed during the drawing days is quickly burned, as Z779 shows greater signs of depression if the art has been made. It is shown to it. Aviace note. NC mentioned prior imposes no threat, really, so no note. Z717. I have to really cover this one. Does nothing, really. There's no purpose. Let's go through them. Aha, here we are. Moving onward. The Trenchbleeder class walker is built for one thing and one thing only, making as much money as possible. I guess you can relate to 779 then. The Leadvan Zone is full of natural mining nodes and oil pockets, and setting up rigs at each one would be incredibly expensive. The Trenchbleeder was built to fill the role of a mobile oil rig and mining platform, allowing us to bleed the trench dry for resources and cash. A Trenchbleeder class walker weighs about hold on, I think I got the number right here. Yeah. 220,600 tons, measuring at 1,500 studs its height and 1,000 studs length. Outfitted with state-of-the-art LiDAR or camera scanner mounted at the top of its flare stick, it roams the Latvan zone scanning for minerals and oil. Once a pocket has been found, it'll walk on top of it and start the extraction process. Once the pocket is empty, or its cargo storage is full, it'll return to the loading dock, drop off its resources, and return to duty. Each Trenchbleeder is controlled by the Navi AI system, allowing them to do tasks autonomously. Considering 779, see, that's not good. Allowing them to do tasks autonomously. This means they can operate day and night without the need for crews to switch between shifts constantly, only using regular maintenance every 2 seconds. Just kidding, every 2 weeks. This also means that in event of black site lockdown, the Trenchbleeders can keep making money as a lockdown situation is being dealt with. In the event that the AI is down for maintenance, a skeleton crew of 12 people is enough to keep things running smoothly until the AI is operational again. Due to their extreme weight, Trenchbleeders would not be able to walk on dry land. The only reason they aren't toppling over is due to the low density water helping it stand up straight. Attempting to leave the Latvan zone would be suicidal for a Trenchbleeder, as the sudden pressure shift would implode its light hull instantly. There are only 4 Trenchbleeders in operation, and their names are as follows. Trenchbleeder Leon, named after Mr. Shade's cat. Trenchbleeder Rosa, named after the woman who... Swear to God, they redact everything. Trenchbleeder Lucy, named after Mr. Shade's stillborn daughter. Jeez, that's rough. And Trenchbleeder River, named after the man who gave his all in the first encounter against the guardian angel of the Banlands. Sounds like some kind of fantasy fiction novel. Once the Latvan zone is fully stripped of its resources, all of the Trenchbleeders will be shut down and dismantled for parts. All except for Lucy. Mr. Shade has requested that Lucy specifically is to be switched into free roam mode, allowing her to wander the trench without any clear money-making goals. The Board of Finance were, to say the least, very unhappy with this decision, as the maintenance costs without any profit returns would be high. Anyone aboard the board with any thoughts against this request has since been demoted and or fired. I think we all know what happens after the firing. No witnesses. If these documents are shown to an well, that's for the last bit. You know that. Aviace note. While they should pose no threat, and occasionally you will have to go out into the trench, and you might pass one of the Trenchbleeders. Notably, though, you should only deal with Leon and Lucy, as the others are further from the black site, and as currently, with the estimated lockdown timer, they won't arrive by the black site after the lockdowns. They will only arrive to the black site after the lockdown's already dealt with. And now finally, this guy. Z13. New codename, Saboteur. Previous codename, Handyman. Real name, Sebastion Solace. Oh, shame. He was a good man. even if he's a bit of a prick, is to be killed on sight without hesitation, as per orders from Shade himself. Z13 is incredibly dangerous. Caution is required if encountered. By his size, Z13 is incredibly nimble, allowing him to quickly outmaneuver and flank operatives. It should also be noted that Z13 is currently in possession of our experimental portable scrambler, meaning that any and all CCTV, radios, and other communications equipment will be rendered offline in a stud radius of his presence. Operatives must conduct a communications check with every HQ every 5 minutes to ensure they are not within the range of the scrambler. If HQ cannot be reached, operatives should remain on high alert for the possible ambush while attempting to check in as often as possible. After feigning the effects of anesthesia, Z13 pretended to succumb and woke up unguarded during transport. He killed elite guardsmen, acquiring his high clearance keycard, and proceeded to release as many monsters as possible in the containment cells, causing a site-wide lockdown. As much as it's a pain, I can see why he did it. Before stealing and reconfiguring the experimental scrambler, CCTV covered Z13, trading stolen items for research findings from EXR-P expedition party members. The exact motives remain unknown, although uncertain if he continues to trade with incoming parties is highly probable. I actually go a little too far. Yeah, I did go too far. Okay, know what I just said. Before stealing and reconfiguring the experimental scrambler, God, I feel like I'm doing this right, but at the same time not. Z13, trading stolen items for research findings from EXR-P expedition party members. The exact motivations remain unknown, but encrypted radio broadcasts to Innovation Inc., Blockstop, Deluge Labs, and Pinewood suggest he is gathering confidential Urban Shade information as leverage to weigh out with a rival organization. Although uncertain if he continues to trade with oncoming parties, it is highly probable. In early 2015, Z-13 was selected as part of an experiment to give humans gills using DNA from a blue whale. Swear to God, this also has to be redacted. A sea snake, a great white shark, a female anglerfish, a silver spiny fin, and a mantis shrimp. Quite the little DNA. While the experimentation was a success and Z13 gained the ability to breathe underwater, the obvious visual and bodily side effects left much to be desired. These side effects were quickly ironed out and refined on future test subjects, and the gill process was quickly applied to all guardsmen working at the black site. The initial periods followed the experimentations are the optimal times to reverse physical side effects. This is not deemed unnecessary for Z13 due to his LR-P status. The monster's appearance, characteristics, and abilities led to his classification as Z13. After this experiment, seeing no further use for him, in human testing. Z-13 was assigned to underwater equipment maintenance. In late 2015, it was discovered that Z-13 had not killed 9 individuals he was accused of. That he was in fact an innocent man, wrongfully sentenced to death. Despite this revelation, it was decided not to inform Z-13 or release him to the public, as he was legally declared deceased. At this stage, reversing the mutations was no longer feasible, as the opportunity to do so had long passed. However, his rank was changed from MRP, was changed to MRP, providing him with better living conditions and access to recreational programs available to MR-Ps. Under no circumstances is Z-13 allowed to leave the black site alive. If any operatives discover Z-13, they must abandon their previous objectives and, as Mr. Shade states, shred their mags until their trigger finger bleeds. Final Aviace note. As somebody who was once stationed in the black site with duties involving Z-13, and I have on multiple occasions interacted with him, I can say that as much as he is rude, a bit of a prick, and at times even an active threat, he doesn't mean harm, at least none, to those who don't deserve it. And if it means both your benefits, you'll oblige to whatever. That is all from me. Yeah. That should be all for the Z classification entities, with the inclusion of the Trenchbleeders, Searchlights, and Fauna. Now, if you excuse me, I'm gonna go. Trying to knock my. Keep hearing a knock on my door. Okay, I'm. Fuck, they found out. Okay. The door's not gonna hold for too long. Fuck. Well, gonna do what I do best. At least this is the world. If you're listening to this, Urban Shade, bad people. Probably already gathered that from the information I just gave, but please, if you're out there, just help us. Dr. R. Aviace out.